All right, happy race day and welcome to Fast Cars, Fast Money. We're talking about the Cup Series at Bristol. We got Saturday night racing at Bristol Motor Speedway. We got 500 laps. It's going to be a long race. There's going to be a lot of points up for grabs, and hopefully we can all come out on the right side when the checkered flag is waving. So, what are we really wanting to keep in mind? What are some things that we want to be mindful of when we are selecting our drivers for tonight? Well, like I was just saying, this race is 500 laps. So with 500 laps, it only takes these drivers like 15 seconds basically to get around the track. These laps are going to click off extremely fast. This is one of, I think, if not the highest scoring weekend, maybe I think it might be tied with the Martinsville race, which is also 500 laps, but it's going to be a high scoring weekend. You got 125 points, dominator points up for grabs just with laps led. And then you have 225 points available with fast laps. Now, those fast laps most likely are to get distributed throughout the field a decent amount just because of how small this track is. It's a half mile, steeply banked concrete track. It's only going to take, probably 10, 15 laps for the leaders to be in traffic. It's just going to be a very congested race. There's going to be multiple drivers, multiple laps down. So those fast laps should get distributed a little bit depending on where you are in traffic. But for the most part, you really want to try to get those lap leaders. Most likely the person leading the lap is going to also run the fastest lap as long as they have clean air. Once you get in the traffic, it might get distributed a little bit, but we really want to try to focus on nailing those lap leaders. So let's keep that in mind today. You're going to see a lot of drivers that have, really attractive place differential upside. Not that you should avoid those drivers, but just be careful of, is that driver only place differential? Do they also have lap leading upside? Because if you don't have the driver that's out front leading laps, you are going to be missing out on a ton of points. So for me, I'd rather increase my chances of how many lap leaders I have in my line. So I'm probably going to aim for probably 3, sometimes if I'm being really aggressive, sometimes even 4 drivers who I think can lead laps, and then trying to build around them. So let's try to figure out who some of those plays are. So now that qualifying's done, we know the starting grid, we know the salaries. We kind of have a little bit of an understanding of what these teams have. Now, granted, these teams did practice and qualify Friday afternoon, and they are racing Saturday night. So the track is going to change a little bit. The weather should change. So it's not, 100% reliable, but, it's what we got. So it's what we are using to help sway us a little bit. So wow, Andrew, you put high interest for all the 10K drivers, super helpful. Well, let me walk you through it. So you got Hamlin, Elliott, Larson, Busch, and Bell. You kind of got a little bit of a mix here. You got Hamlin starting 4th, Larson starting 5th, Bell starting 8th, and then you have the place differential plays of Elliott and Busch. My favorite play out of this range is going to be Denny Hamlin. And the reason I say that is Denny Hamlin has the best track position of these drivers. He is the highest probability, in my opinion, and is most likely to be a dominator play today. He's been running really well as of late, qualified well. His practice times look well. He's looked really good. I think he was top of the board on 5 lap, 10 lap, 15 lap. I don't know if he ran any longer than that in practice, but he was, everything is pointing to Hamlin today. So, he's going to be high owned. A lot of people are relying on him to be a lap leader. So if you're building multiple lines, I really like using Hamlin as a guy that you should be, very high on, but I also understand he's probably going to be very high on. So maybe pivoting if you are building multiple lines, but he's probably the driver I am the most confident in of being a lap leader today. Then you have Elliott and Busch. Elliott and Busch are more kind of stage 2 place differential potential lap leaders. So if you are playing an Elliott and or a Busch, you need to pair them with a driver who starts a lot closer to the front of the field for stage 1. Elliott and Busch most likely are not going to lead you any laps in the first stage. However, you're playing them because of the place differential upside that they have, and you are assuming that they are going to be a lap leader later in this race. Between the two of them, I like Busch more just because he gives you a little bit of a price discount. His practice times looked a little bit better, and his pit crew is arguably the best pit crew that we have in the Cup Series. So when they are coming into the pits under cautions, under stage breaks, I feel confident that his team will help him advance his position on pit road. And I feel once you get up closer to the front of the field, once you have that clean air, I think you'll be able to maintain your track position. Larson is another driver who's probably going to be very high owned today. He was right behind Hamlin or even in front of Hamlin on the 15, 20, and 25 lap averages, I believe, in practice. So looks like Larson has a great long run car. This is kind of the same story every week with Larson. He has really great practice times. He qualifies decently well. Everyone assumes he's going to be a dominator. He's going to be a lap leader. And then just for whatever reason, he just does not pay off that price. So he's a driver I still feel confident in being a lap leader, but between Hamlin and Larson, I'd much rather play Hamlin over Larson if you can't get both of them in your lines. But I think having both of them in your lines is a very popular route that a lot of people are going to go. Then you have Christopher Bell. I might bump him down to medium just to differentiate the top range a little bit there. I still feel pretty confident in Christopher Bell being a lap leader. I think he should be probably the lowest owned of the 4 drivers that we've talked about so far. But he's right behind Hamlin is one of the best JGR cars right now. I just wish he was a little bit cheaper at 10,200, but DraftKings priced him up because he's been running well and they assume that he's going to be a strong contender for the race win tonight. Once you get to Reddick and Truex, they're not really an interest for me. I'm not really going out of my way to get them into my lines, but you got 500 laps, anything can happen. You want to make sure you have some coverage, some ownership across some of these top plays. So Reddick and Truex look like kind of maybe cheaper pivot options off of Elliott and Busch. I think Elliott and Busch have a much higher likelihood of leading laps, so I still would lean heavily on Busch and Elliott. But if you can't afford them, if you're still looking for a place differential play that has lap leading upside, you could check out Reddick and Truex. I'd probably lean on Truex a little bit more just because he's in a JGR car. The JGR cars have been running well. It gives you a little bit more place differential, and he's $200 cheaper. Do like Logano quite a bit, starting 15th. He also gives you a little bit of place differential upside. And Logano had not amazing numbers in practice, but they were good. I mean, they were kind of, contending with the top 5, and that's all you really need. Maybe some of the front runners have issues. They speed on pit road, or maybe Logano beats them on pit road. I think if Logano is able to get out front, I think he'll hold that position. So I really liked Logano today for his price tag. Chastain's a guy I'm probably going to bump down to maybe low. All the lines I've been building, I haven't really been getting to Chastain too much. This isn't really the track I really want to focus on. Chastain, his practice times weren't great. Qualified decently well, but Bristol's also a short track. You can see a lot of these drivers putting the bumper to one another. A lot of drivers have gone out of their way and say they owe Ross one. Bristol is probably the best track to do that on. So we'll see. I mean, I might still have some ownership there, but not really a priority for me. I'd much rather play Ryan Blaney starting 6 for $8,900. I feel like he has a good potential of being a lap leader today. It's crazy that he still hasn't found victory lane with all the different winners that we've had. But nonetheless, he has been running well all year. I think he's always kind of one of those top 5 cars that usually runs well during the race. It's just, can you get that result? William Byron's interesting. He starts 16th. I don't know how much ownership he's going to carry, but he's pretty cheap today, starting for $8,700. Gives you a little bit more place differential upside than Blaney, although I would argue that I feel more confident in Ryan Blaney being that lap leader. And when we talked about all the dominator points that are up for grabs today, we are going to lean on those dominators versus those place differential plays. So I'd rather have Blaney in there just because I think he's more likely to lead laps. But if you can't get up to Blaney, if you need a little bit of place differential on your line, I don't mind William Byron. But Kevin Harvick is my favorite play out of this range. Harvick is basically in a must-win situation after two just really shitty weeks. The past 2 weeks, um, he has some really good practice times. I really like his price tag. Is really easy to fit in with a couple of those 10K drivers that we talked about up top. I feel confident in him being a lap leader at some point in this race. This team is only going for the win, so they're going to be doing whatever they can to set him up to take the checkered flag in stage 3. This is also a pretty good track for Harvick, so I really like Harvick there as a potential lap leader in your line for $8,500. Bubba Wallace, really cool to see him get a win last week, but not really a interest for us today. His practice times just really jump out, and I'd much rather pay up for Harvick or even pay down for Bowman. Bowman's going to be a little bit more of a GPP aggressive option. I think a lot of people are just assuming that Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson are going to be those early lap leaders, but they start on the 4th and 5th row. We still have 3-4 drivers who start in front of them. Alex Bowman being one of those drivers. So you got Almirola, Briscoe, and Bowman. Of the three of them there, I would kind of lean on Almirola, Bowman being those early lap leaders. Briscoe, he put down a good lap when it mattered, but his practice times didn't look too great, and I'd feel more confident in Bowman or Almirola leading laps. It's just how many laps can you see them leading, and then if they inevitably give up the lead at some point in this race, how high can they finish? Ideally, Bowman or Almirola goes out there, leads you 50, 60, 70, 80 plus laps, and then maybe they lose the lead, but then they still finish, in the top 10. That's kind of best case scenario, or what you're hoping for out of a Bowman or Almirola play today. Suarez and Eric Jones give you a little bit more place differential. Neither of them probably are going to lead you any laps, but if you need some place differential in your line to balance out some of the lap leaders that you have, I really like Suarez and Jones. But again, I'd much rather try to pay up for a Bowman or a Harvick, a Blaney if you can, or that's kind of a big price increase, or even paying down for Almirola. We really want to focus on those lap leaders. Austin Dillon's probably going to carry a lot of ownership, so I'd rather just pivot to Eric Jones, but I don't mind Austin Dillon at all. I might, he's probably going to keep him at medium. Let's see here. Briscoe and Cindric, not really going to get to them today. Cindric I feel like he just kind of gets stuck riding around there. I don't feel like he has too much upside. Briscoe, you kind of have to draw a line in the sand. I'm going to lean more on Almirola, Bowman, and then definitely Hamlin and Larson. I do like Gibbs today. Gibbs gives you a little bit of place differential. He's pretty cheap, starting 25th. He's kind of looking for revenge after getting wrecked out of that Xfinity race. It's probably not going to lead you any laps. He's just really out there to continue to gain experience. So when he is taking over the full-time Cup ride in the 18 car next year, hopefully he'll be that much more prepared. Stenhouse used to run really well here, but for whatever reason recently, he has just been terrible. Maybe this is a track he can turn it around, but I feel a lot more confident with Christopher Buescher there at $6,600 starting 20th. I just feel like he gives you more safety. I feel like he has higher upside. Doesn't have as much place differential, but I'd much rather pay down for Christopher Buescher than pay up for Stenhouse. Keselowski and McDowell, not really interest for me. AJ Allmendinger had really, really great times in practice. He was top 10 across the board in the 1, 5, 10, 15. He's really cheap, easy to fit in lines. Probably going to bump him up to high interest. I really like the builds that you can get with having AJ in your line. The hope is with AJ is that he can kind of maintain his starting position, maybe even potentially move up a handful of spots. Haley's a nice pivot option off of Allmendinger because Allmendinger is probably going to carry a lot more ownership, but AJ's practice times looked a lot better. And then we're going to need some of these kind of bottom of the barrel punt plays. Not really going to get to Cole Custer. Ty Dillon's going to be popular because he starts 34th. Todd Gilliland's a fine option if you can't pay up for Ty Dillon. But my favorite punt play is probably Corey LaJoy, just because of his price, his starting position, and his practice times. And then I actually really like JJ Yaley today too. I'm just hoping he doesn't have a mechanical failure. He can just stay on track. I don't really care how many laps down he goes. You're playing Yaley because he starts, DFL. He's super cheap, and you got 500 laps. So it really allows you to stack some of those other lap leaders in your line. And if you expect this race to have a lot of cautions, if you expect a lot of drivers to rack out, have issues, well, who's there to just, be a pure attrition play and just slowly, rack up points? Best case scenario, Yaley finishes like 28th today. It gives you a decent amount of place differential, and it allows you, again, to maybe upgrade maybe like an Austin Dillon play to like a Kevin Harvick play, or maybe like a Alex Bowman play to like a Ryan Blaney play. Like, Yaley just gives you a little bit more salary relief to stack a little bit higher on the front end with those lap leaders. So hopefully that was helpful. If it was, leaving a like on the video is always appreciated. If you're new here, or if you are a frequent watcher of the channel and you haven't hit that subscribe button, that's also appreciated. Our ultimate goal is to get up to 1,000 subs. Slowly but surely, we're climbing up there. So thanks to you guys for all the support. Best of luck tonight, and yeah, let's get after it.